Imagine someone earning a decent salary, paying their bills on time, contributing something to retirement, and generally making responsible financial decisions. They are not reckless with money, they are not constantly buying luxury cars, and they are not ignoring their future. From the outside, this looks like the kind of person who should eventually become a millionaire. Yet decades can pass without their net worth ever reaching seven figures, and the reason is usually more complicated than simply saying they did not earn enough or save enough. Becoming a millionaire is partly an income problem, but it is also a mathematical, behavioral, and structural problem involving time, ownership, spending, inflation, taxes, and the surprisingly large difference between earning money and accumulating assets. The first distinction that matters is between income and wealth. Income measures how much money flows toward you during a period of time, while wealth measures what remains under your ownership after subtracting what you owe. Someone earning $150,000 a year can have a net worth of $40,000, while someone earning $70,000 can eventually build a net worth above $1 million. Those situations are not contradictory because income is a flow and wealth is a stock. A high salary creates the capacity to accumulate wealth, but it does not automatically convert itself into wealth. That conversion is where many financial lives become surprisingly inefficient. Money arrives through a paycheck and immediately begins moving in different directions. Housing takes a portion, taxes take another, transportation takes another, food and insurance take more, and then there are subscriptions, holidays, childcare, debt payments, entertainment, repairs, and hundreds of smaller expenses that rarely feel significant individually. What remains is the portion that can actually be converted into assets. Consider a simplified example. Suppose someone can consistently invest $500 per month. That is $6,000 per year. Ignoring investment returns for a moment, reaching $1 million at that pace would require more than 166 years. Obviously, nobody has that amount of working time, which reveals something important about millionaire-level wealth. For most ordinary earners, saving cash alone is mathematically insufficient. Some form of compounding generally has to do a substantial portion of the work. If that same $500 were invested every month for 40 years, and hypothetically earned an average 7% annual return, the ending balance would be around $1.3 million before considering taxes, fees, and the uncertainty of actual investment returns. The person would have personally contributed only $240,000. Most of the final balance would come from growth accumulated over time. But change one variable and the outcome changes dramatically. Start 20 years later and there is much less time for compounding to operate. Increase the monthly contribution and the curve becomes much steeper. Interrupt contributions repeatedly, withdraw investments when expenses appear, or remain primarily in cash, and the ending result can be substantially smaller. This is one reason wealth accumulation is difficult psychologically. Human beings experience money linearly while compounding behaves exponentially. When you save your first $10,000, it feels like $10,000 because that is essentially what it is. At a hypothetical 7% annual return, $10,000 generates about $700 of growth in a year before taxes, fees, and market fluctuations. That is useful, but it probably does not transform your life. At $100,000, the same percentage represents about $7,000. At $500,000, it represents $35,000. At $1 million, it represents $70,000. The percentage did not change, the base did. This creates a strange feature of capitalism that is obvious mathematically but easy to underestimate psychologically. Assets become more powerful when you already own a meaningful quantity of assets. Early wealth accumulation depends heavily on labor because the portfolio itself is too small to contribute much. Later, if enough capital has accumulated, the relationship can gradually reverse, and the assets can potentially produce changes in value comparable to a significant portion of someone's employment income. The difficult part is surviving the long period before that happens. Just think of two people receiving the same $5,000 raise. One allows almost the entire raise to become additional spending. Their apartment becomes slightly nicer, their car payment increases, restaurants become more frequent, and their lifestyle adjusts almost invisibly to the new salary. The second person allows some lifestyle improvement but directs the rest toward acquiring assets. 10 years later, their salaries might still look similar, while their balance sheets look completely different. This phenomenon is commonly described as lifestyle inflation, but the phrase can make it sound like a simple failure of discipline. In reality, it is often more subtle.